Want to buy a $1 million home but you only make $30,000 a year? No problem. Canada's housing market is right for you. All you need is a down payment of 1.5% to be living large in Canada. Hurry before prices rise even further. Join the club. You came here for the truth, so let me unveil that for you. Today, we are going to talk about Canada's housing bubble. I want to focus on one company. In particular, it's been in the news. That's right, it's Home Capital Group, also known as Home Trust, its subsidiary. And what they're talking about here in this article out of Business Insider is something very particular, making reference back to the financial crisis. Before that, obviously, the housing bubble in the US, saying that there were liar loans everywhere where we had the ninja loans, no income, job, or assets. And this is the type of thing that really was exacerbated by low interest rates and every reason for people to invest in real estate. It was essentially free money. And they're saying Canada is different. Regulators are on top of it. There are strict down payment requirements. Mortgages are full recourse. So strung out borrowers couldn't just mail in their keys and walk away, as they did in the US. Absolutely, this is true. But Wednesday after hours, Home Capital Group, Canada's largest non-bank mortgage lender, threw a monkey wrench into this theory. Through its subsidiary, Home Trust, the company focuses on alternative mortgages, high-profit mortgages to risky borrowers with dented credit or unreliable incomes who don't qualify for mortgage insurance and turned down by the banks. They include everyone's favorite, subprime borrowers. So it disclosed upon urging of the Ontario Securities Commission the results of an investigation that had been going on secretly since September. Falsification of income information, also known as, just cut off at the bottom, liar loans. This is a repeat of what we saw, and it is coming to the surface right now. We have the evidence. And this isn't a small case. This is taking off. This is huge. This is bombshell. And the media covers it in general. The media covers that as if it is only this small little portion. But I assure you, this is big. And Canada's entire economy right now, the entire thing, is resting upon a crutch, also known as the housing market. There is nothing left. Oil is down in price. You have seen what's going on with lumber potentially encountering a problem right here. Of course, that's very new. And the dollar, the Canadian dollar, down significantly. What is it then that is looking good for the future? Now, you're thinking, how bad can it be? Many people in Canada say, you can't have a housing bubble like what happened in the States because of these strict regulations in place. Well, I would beg to differ. Anybody can get a loan, anybody, with 5% down. So you pay 5%, you just have to pay an insurance, essentially an extra fee to allow them to give less than that 20-25% that you would traditionally need to pay. Just pay a little bit extra money and no problem, you're allowed to get it. Insurance money, whatever that means. Well, if you don't even have 5%, there's no problem. Canada Mortgage and Financial Group has a new product that allows you to borrow your down payment from any source. The only amount you need to show your ownership being 1.5% of the purchase price. 1.5%. You need to have essentially nothing, and you can buy that up. That's how people are able to afford million-dollar homes, being nothing in the market in some cities across Canada, namely Toronto, Vancouver, which have the majority of the population of Canada, a big portion anyway. And you look at it, 1.5%, that's nothing. It's no different than what happened in the crisis in the US. I'm sure that as time goes on, we are going to find more and more information which shows the similarities. There's more in here. I'd like to move on, but you see where I'm going with that. Moving on to the next article. Home Capital Group high interest savings account balance. Think about this. The deposits at Home Capital Group have been declining dramatically in a short period of time. This is starting in late March, and now you're looking at it a very short period of time later, a couple months, not even, where you'll see it declining this dramatic, and that is a bank run. However you want to look at it, call it whatever word or term, it doesn't matter to me. It's a bank run. The deposits are fleeing. Money is leaving the company. If it's a stock and people start selling the stock, or if it's a traditional bank and people take out their deposits, anything, however you want to look at it. To me, people are leaving the company, and if you're on board, you better bail out. No pun intended. There was no end in sight to the crisis at subprime lender Home Capital this week. The bank's warning the run on deposit cast doubt on the ability to continue operating. Home Capital has seen a 94% of the deposits in its savings accounts disappear. 94%? And I have heard many people tell me that everything is just fine. Well, I've heard that all before. So thank you for your opinion. Much appreciated. The situation is bringing unwanted negative attention to Canada's financial system from abroad. Bets against the loonie, we have seen that dramatic actually, and against the Canadian banks are at elevated levels. Moody's downgraded Canadian banks, as they should be, warning that consumer debt levels are too high. That's something that I've been warning about for a long time, in fact, and that's very much connected with what's happening with the housing crisis. As you can see, people just take on more and more and more and more debt, and then they use their homes as bank accounts. Buying luxury cars. You have no idea, if you don't live in the city, Toronto, how many luxury cars are on the streets. It seems like a 50-50 chance on many areas you drive through that you will see a luxury car versus your standard vehicle. It is everywhere, and the people have taken on more debt in order to get that. And look, if the mortgages and the loans are being handed out at next to nothing, people are figuring, why not? That's the trouble that we are running into. Look, even the Bank of Canada, the central bank, I mean, you know there's a problem when the central bank admits there's a problem. Assessing vulnerabilities in the Canadian financial system. Ongoing monitoring of vulnerabilities in the Canadian financial system is important. They go on. The regularly evaluating vulnerabilities in the Canadian financial system, such as the degree of leverage, funding and liquidity issues, the pricing of risk, and then it goes on, essentially assessing these vulnerabilities, and then they will get into that in the report, saying that Canadians are too far stretched, there's too much debt, the interest rates are too low at this point, and everything's out of whack. They mention everything. They talk about these things, and then, of course, the solution is never right. They always do what they know they shouldn't. So on one hand, you get these reports that come out that highlight all the big problems that I talk about. And then they say, well, you know what, we're going to print some more money, or we're going to bring the interest rates down, or we're going to have a stimulus type package, or we're going to do things that just make it worse. And of course, there's reasons for this, political reasons and everything else. We know the deal. And last but not least, Home Capital Group said its recent decision to suspend its relationship with dozens of brokers happened after an external source tipped the company off that brokers were falsifying borrower incomes. Wow, what a surprise. Home Capital, one of Canada's largest alternative mortgage lenders, said approximately 45 individual third-party brokers are no longer dealing with the company following an internal investigation. 60% of the mortgages created using false documents were a part of its accelerator line of insurance mortgages product. Anyway, it doesn't matter. The point is that they were liar loans. These are the worst of the worst. Then you have the fact that you can get a mortgage for 1.5% down. You have mortgages at extremely low levels at this time. You have Canadians in the maximum amount of debt at this time, the highest levels of debt ever. It all spells doom. And what should you do? You should not be playing in the same game. Sure, if you want to get into these markets, whatever market that is, you better be ready in case things turn south. You better be ready. At this time, we have record levels. Is there ever a time to buy something when it's at a record level? Maybe. Maybe it continues to go up, but you have to express extreme caution. That goes for any asset. I don't care which one. You can still have your money in it, but you have to be ready. And a lot of people, they're not ready. Particularly those Canadians right now who have put everything they have into their home. They've taken out the equity to buy their fancy Teslas and everything else that are so common on the road these days. And you have to figure what's going to be there to backstop you. Are you going to wait for the Bank of Canada to bail you out too? Well, don't worry, because the Bank of Canada doesn't bail out any banks or any institutions. The Federal Reserve does. Okay, anyway, enough with the segue. That's it for this video. If you found it informative, please give me a thumbs up. When you give me a thumbs up, it pushes these videos higher up in the YouTube search rankings. So more than ever, I do appreciate that. As you have heard before, YouTube ain't what it used to be. That's for sure. We are seeing the censorship going on. We are seeing individuals who are creating content on this platform trying to be silenced. And it goes in many ways. But I'm still here. A lot of people have asked me to go on to Steemit. I do have a Steemit account. I have made $0 on Steemit, so I'm not exactly sure how that all works, but definitely not a profitable place to be, although it is good to get into different avenues and try to do that. I'm not really sure how that Steemit business works. I basically posted a video up on there and it has generated no revenue, so I don't know where the revenue comes from exactly, but regardless, if you found the video informative, then I know you'll find my books, The Money GPS, and my new release, Global Economic Collapse, even more informative. If you want to look through the books, they're at Amazon. Also, my audiobook for the Global Economic Collapse is available. That's on my website. And the website is themoneygps.com. You can check out the audiobook there. If you want to flip through the books at Amazon, they have that ability. Take care.